The Carpenter and the Cradle. A History Weaver Adventure, Book 1, by Connie Worden. Read by the author. Chapter 3. As soon as June had hung up, the phone shrilled again in her hand. She jumped backwards slightly from the unexpectedness of it. She pushed the talk button and held the phone back to her ear. "Good morning, Beaver Row Books," she said into the receiver. Nothing but silence greeted her on the other end. "Hello?" Still nothing. "Oh well, wrong number, I guess," she muttered to herself. She checked call display and saw the number to be an unrecognized one with no familiar prefixes. Thinking no more about it, she made her way up the stairs to Lady Cromarty's apartment and tapped lightly on the door. No answer, so she tapped a little louder and called softly, "Lady Cromarty?" Still no answer, so she knocked loudly and half-bellowed Lady Cromarty's name. Finally, she heard the slow and measured tread of Lady Cromarty's sensible shoes coming toward the door. The door swung inward. "Hello, June. What can I do for you?" "I was wondering if there was anything you needed help with. To get ready for Georgie, I mean." "You're planning to carry on calling her by a name you don't know to be her own, I see. I suppose it will do as well as any other until we can learn her true name from her own lips. Although it hardly seems a name for a young girl. But parents do call their children any old thing these days, it seems." June hastily cut in before Lady Cromarty got properly launched into a lecture on her favorite subject, these days, and all that had gone wrong with them. "So, can you think of anything I could help you with?" she asked a little breathlessly. "You're very excitable, June. I hope you won't upset Georgie, or whatever her real name is, when she comes. She'll need plenty of rest, remember." "I remember, but if there's anything... As a matter of fact, I could use you to turn the bed around in the spare room. If I turn it to face the window, I think Georgie will be able to maneuver into it a little easier with her crutches. I'm a little worried about the stairs into the apartment, too. I hope she'll be able to manage them on the crutches. I suppose she'll learn quickly. If I can do them at my age, I imagine there's no reason a young girl on crutches can't figure out how to go up and down them. All right, come with me and let's get this bed moved." June and Lady Cromarty arranged the bed to Lady Cromarty's satisfaction, with Lady Cromarty changing her mind several times as to the best positioning. But finally it was in place, and Lady Cromarty appeared ready to leave it where it was. June decided that she wasn't the only one who was a little excitable about the arrival of Georgie. In spite of her outward calm, Lady Cromarty must have had some inner trepidation. She was normally nothing if not decisive. It wasn't like her to change her mind so many times. "It's nearly tea time, I see. Would you like to stay and have a cup of tea and a biscuit or two with me?" Lady Cromarty offered. June accepted happily. She certainly wanted to be on hand when her dad arrived back from Cheriton with Georgie, but she couldn't think of any other excuses to stay now that the bed was moved, and she could hardly just hang around the apartment aimlessly. Besides, Lady Cromarty ordered her tea from a special supplier that brought it straight from England, and it was much better than the tea they sold at any grocery store in Beaver Row. The chocolate biscuits were also from the same supplier and were unusual too. June was prolonging her second cup of tea, sipping it so slowly it was barely above room temperature, when she heard her dad's voice and the thumping of crutches and feet on the stairs leading to the apartment. She couldn't hear what her dad was saying, but his tones sounded jovial and forced. It must have been hard work doing all the talking for two. Unless Georgie had started to speak since the last they'd seen of her in the hospital, but it didn't seem likely. "Knock, knock, Lady Cromarty, we're coming in," Paul Eagles called through the door he'd opened and then held for Georgie. Yes, of course. Come in. This is where the young lady will be making her home for the time being, so no need for her to stand on ceremony," Lady Cromarty said, rising to go to the door to greet Georgie. June stood awkwardly behind Lady Cromarty and tried to look welcoming. "Georgie," June's dad said, "when you're settled in and after you've had a rest, if you need, you and Lady Cromarty invited to our place for dinner. We live just below Lady Cromarty's apartment, so come down a little earlier if you like. You'll need some clothes besides the few underthings my wife bought for you. Between June and July, you should be able to find some things to fit you. They told me to tell you that they want you to come and raid their closets and borrow anything you like. Whenever you're ready, we can take you out shopping so you can get some things of your own, too. But for now, please feel free to help yourself to anything of my daughter's. Believe me, they have far too many clothes as it is," he finished, mock groaning at the pretended expanse of his daughter's clothing. "Yeah, Georgie, anything you like," June chimed in nervously. Georgie gave no response to either June or her dad. It was hard to tell if she'd heard a word they said. For a brief moment, the idea crossed June's mind that perhaps Georgie didn't speak English. But she remembered the Georgie Green that had come out of Georgie's mouth. That must have been English. From behind Georgie's back, June's dad shrugged his shoulders at his daughter helplessly. But Lady Cromarty had taken Georgie by the hand. "Come with me, lass, and I'll show you where you're to sleep while you're staying with me. Here's my little spare room all set up and ready for you. Here's the chest of drawers for you to use while you get some clothing to put in it. I've got a few things in the bottom drawer, but the rest is all for your use, and this half of the closet is all for you." Again, nothing but a blank look. Lady Cromarty persevered courageously. "And I don't know what to call you, really, but it seems that the name Georgie has become attached to you. Should I go on calling you Georgie until a better name turns up?" There was not even a nod, but Lady Cromarty apparently took Georgie's silence as consent. "Well, Georgie it is then. Is there anything you think you might need? I'll tell you what, I'll put a little notepad and pencil right on your nightstand here by your bed, and if you ever want to tell me something or ask for something, you write me a little note. All right, Georgie?" Without waiting for an answer, which was just as well, seeing there was none, Lady Cromarty suited actions to her words and went to find a notepad and pencil. "Okay, Georgie, we'll be waiting downstairs for you whenever you're ready to come on down and look at my girl's massive clothing collection," Paul said, hamming it up and spreading his arms wide on the word massive, like he was telling a fish story. Paul and June left the apartment, both wondering how Lady Cromarty would cope. On the other hand, it was Lady Cromarty. She would always cope.